Hello and welcome to a press conference today on building future-ready companies here at the annual meeting of the New Champions 2023. I'm Kirsten Salyer from the World Economic Forum, and I'm joined by an esteemed panel from Boston Consulting Group to talk about one of the main themes that's been on the agenda at this meeting, and that is how do we navigate economic uncertainties and how do we create the conditions necessary for success in the future? And we're looking at this today from a business angle, using data that's been gathered over the past 3 years, more than 2,500 global businesses, and with this particular focus on spotlight on innovations from China. So it's my great pleasure to introduce my esteemed panelists here today. To my left, Niraj Agarwal, Asia Pacific Chair, BCG. Carol Liao, our Chair of BCG Greater China, and Chen Wu, Managing Partner of BCG Greater China. Thank you so much and welcome to this panel. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'd also like to let everyone know, joining in the room and on our live stream on the website and on social media, that this will be an English and Mandarin panel. So just a reminder to have your translation devices ready in the room, and also to toggle the language to your preference on the streaming device of your choice. All right, let's get started with a look at the past year. Niraj, can you tell us a bit about the main challenges companies have faced?
Sure. So firstly, thank you, Kirsten, and thank you to all of you who are joining us virtually as well as in the room here today. It's a pleasure to be talking to all of you. So look, I've been traveling a lot over the last year, right, in my role in particular, and I've had a chance to meet leaders, CEOs across the world, certainly a lot in Asia as well as in China. There is one question which is eternal, but the context around that has changed. The eternal question is, how do I build sustained competitive advantage, right? But the context has changed, and that's what I think is interesting to see. The context has changed because the pace of change around us is a lot faster than ever before. So people are saying, I need to be resilient for the medium to future term, and at the same time secure my short term. And that's a very tough challenge in the light of all these challenges, vectors of change. And let me call out the vectors of change. One is there are lots of uncertainties in the world around us. There is in the short term inflation, some geopolitical uncertainty, but there are societal megatrends which are changing the world around us. There is disruptive technology which is shaping the world around us, right? So I think that's one thing which is happening. But there are two other important things which are also happening. Our competitive landscape in general is shifting, and the pillars of competitive advantage are changing. Let me talk about both of them. So the competitive landscape, if you're a bank, let's say, historically, the bank's core business versus the blockchain business, which is also built around currency, the blockchain business is growing a lot more than the core banking business. If you're an auto company, selling cars is fine, but mobility and other solutions are growing much faster than that. If you're a telco, your core telco business is growing at a certain pace, but the cloud business which the telcos serve is growing at 5-10 times that pace. So you see that your core competition or the spaces you operate in is much different, right? And they create different kind of challenges. And then if you also look at what historically used to be drivers of advantage, scale, process advantage. Yes, they're relevant, but what has become even more relevant, look at the words people use. They talk about agility, they talk about data, they talk about responsiveness, talent maybe. So the basis of advantage is shifting far away from the classical ones, from the more physical ones, if I may, to the more digital ones. And lo and behold, earlier this year, there has been a special moment with Gen AI, in some sense, which has further accelerated this transition, even more so, right? I mean, something which has already been on an uptick has moved to a much higher gear. So you can pick your favorite data, but the number of days in which ChatGPT reached 1 million users, broke all records of Facebook and everything else, it's down to, I think, 5 days or something. So it shows you the pace at which this change curve is happening. It's even faster. But against that backdrop, I have one You know, I remember growing up watching gymnastics, and there was a score of 10 on 10, and that was considered a very good score. I have a different 10 on 10 for you. So in the last 10 years, many companies in pursuit of advantage have spent $10 trillion on digital tech and data, and have not got the desired benefits out of it. So that's a bad 10 on 10. You know, in the last 10 years, $10 trillion of wasteful expenditure has happened. And it not only does it waste, it's money wasted, it's time advantage wasted, it's frustration, it's management bandwidth wasted, so it kind of further exacerbates the challenge. So that's the world we live in today. But in this world, I think a handful of companies, a select handful of companies are being able to transcend all this and are able to take advantage and build a future-ready business. I think that's what we want to talk about today. And for that, as to what attributes they exhibit, I would like to turn on to Carol to talk about that.
Thank you. Yes, please, Carol, tell us what are the characteristics of these companies that have cracked the code to become future-ready?
Great. Thanks, Kristen. Thanks, Niraj. Niraj 刚才已经谈到啊，我们今天处在一个非常不同的时代。
Niraj has talked about our types. We are faced with many uncertainties, and we are faced with rapid development. We know time is not linear. When we build a future-ready company, it is not a linear journey. We divide companies on this journey into 4 categories. The first one is lagging behind businesses. They have tried digital transformation, but it's not successful, and they have not benefited a lot. It's like a 10 times 10 businesses, as mentioned by Niraj. They are the second group is growth business. They have a digital blueprint, and they have achieved local success or stated success, and they have some successful cases or examples, but it is still local, but they have not achieved a large-scale development. We call them growth businesses. The third step is large-scale companies. They are the advanced performers in the digital transformation. They have large-scale benefits and values. These businesses have developed a good foundation, and they have made a sustained innovation and still go up. And the last group is pioneering companies. They have systematic, large-scale capabilities. They are not just pioneers in the digitalization. They have the mature capabilities, and they can make better use of disrupting technologies. And these businesses can make sustained innovations, and they can make disruptive innovations. But unfortunately, for the first 2 groups of the businesses, those who lag behind and the growth businesses, they account for 75%. For the large scale and pioneering companies, they account only for 25%. For the pioneers, only around 6%. Maybe think they are the originals in the digital age is they are digital natives, and they have become the largest scale and pioneering businesses. And just have mentioned how to measure the businesses, how to measure the competencies. Of course, they have technical capabilities. It's more about organizational competence and talents competence. We have a quantitative assessment or measurement. We measure their results based on their financial data and non-financial data. For the financial data, we'll look at their revenue growth and their profit increase and the returns to the shareholders. And the return to the regression of their returns to shareholders compared with pre-pandemic, and also the ESG rating. This is non-financial data, and also the recognition of the company by the employees and their engagement, a sense of engagement, and their branding, their reputation. We look at these factors, and also innovation. For example, in terms of patents, what is the number of the patents? With regard to these metrics or indicators, we will look at the large-scale businesses, group of 3 businesses. compared with the lagging behind, they are twice those businesses in both the financial and non-financial indicators. And for the pioneers, they are even the 4th times of the lagging behind businesses. For BCG, in the shareholders' return model, the greatest contribution is that you do not damage the profitability. How fast can you grow? If you look at the shareholder return of the pioneers, they are 3 times higher than the market average. And also their contribution to shareholders, 70% is from the growth, and the core growth is innovation. So innovation is the first productivity. So the innovation. So now I would like to give to talk about the innovation, especially innovation in China. Carol has talked about the large scale and the pioneering businesses and the percentage. So altogether, they account for 25%, and the pioneers only account for 6%. We focus on innovative business, the top 50 innovative businesses around the world. Over the past decades, our global innovation group has tracked these businesses, and we have a peer review, and we produce the top 50. Some of the names are familiar. These are the digital natives and tech businesses account the largest share, 14 of them in this list. Only 35% are assessed as large scale and pioneer. So in 2023, Chinese businesses have 8. There were 8 Chinese businesses were in the list. 25 from America, 11 from EU, 8 from China, 3 from Japan. There's an increase in Chinese businesses. They are distributed in different sectors. These include digitalization and TMT. And energy business. If we look at the characteristics of the innovation in Chinese businesses, and the share of innovation as a major task is higher than 95% of the business think innovation is a primary task. In 2019, it was 80%. That was global average. I think China is shifting from high-speed development to high-quality development. So there's an extra requirement for innovation. And second, double carbon reduction and sustainable development. This is also assessment indicator for Chinese businesses. 81% of the Chinese business thinks sustainable development and double carbon reduction is among the 3 top priorities. The global average is 61%. The third point is that in technical innovation, what are the common concerns? AI accounts for 61%, IoT and edge computing 60%. And this is the same as the global average or higher than global average. So we can say China's technological innovation and business model innovation have received greater attention. We can say compared with the innovation pioneers in the world, Chinese businesses also have high requirements for the innovation and double carbon targets.
Very strongly in this conversation is that this is a journey to innovation. Can you walk us through what does that first step look like? And then in 3 to 5 years, what's different? What does it look like then? I can maybe, Carol, would you like to take that one?
我觉得这个是个非常好。
I think it's a good question. At the start, we have talked about this. This journey is not linear. It's not just how you go through the step 1 and then how you go through the step 2. We find as the business's first 2 steps, if you ask them what is the focus, what is the center or gravity of your work, they will talk about they will make some point-based changes in the digital age. For example, they will consider from the perspective of compliance and data security. They will think about how we can perform better in the customer's journey and demand forecast.
And how can I do better in terms of focus of operations? That's their focus and priority. If you ask business who are in the latter 2 group, how to scale their AI solutions and how to build a sustainable development culture, whether you have enough talent pool, whether we can accumulate enough talents for future innovation. So they're thinking about completely different questions. As Niraj said, why 10 times 10 takes actually invest a lot on digitization without being able to benefit from it. So that's why we're talking about the 10, 20, 70. So be it AI or digitization, only 10% relies on your technology model, 20% on data, and 70% relies on your organization, whether there's a shuffling or restructuring, whether you have enough talents, whether you have changed the way you work, whether you're still applying or using a hierarchy in the traditional way, a pyramid shape, or you actually have a flatter organizational structure, building a ecosystem. So sometimes the 70% is more important, no matter how much you invest on the 10% and 20%, but eventually you don't really reap the benefit. So this is not really a linear process. Step 1, we talk about marketing of digitization. Second is about digitization of your operation. And third, of the financial system. You have to do all of this in parallel. And more importantly, your whole organizational flow, your talent pool, the way you work, you have to change all of that. Without those, you can never go to the 3rd and 4th step.
Earlier around agility and on resilience, that we're looking for sustained competitive advantage, whether you're starting now or looking into the long term. One of the points that you mentioned just now, Carol, was on talent and the role of connecting talent into this process. Can you speak a little bit more about the types of skills that are needed to really show leadership in this transformation? Floor is open for thoughts on skills.
Maybe I can try and, am I audible? Yeah. All right. So there's a phrase I'll use, which I think Satya Nadella uses in Microsoft, which I think typifies the attitude of today. We have to move from a know-it-all organization to a learn-it-all organization. I think that mindset is super critical because you don't know what's the new vector of change that is going to come your way. You have to have the humility, and I think we in BCG pride ourselves a lot on this as well, to say that you have to have the humility to say, I don't know, but actually at the same time have the curiosity to understand it from the context of the other person, right? I think that combination to first, very often, many organizations come from a position of arrogance to say we know better, right? And that's where the learning stops. So if you shift it around to one, give up the arrogance, create a culture where it is more about learning and absorbing, I think that's great. The other skill, if I may, is you will never have all the capability within the organization. So collaborating beyond the organization in an ecosystem format also becomes very important. And true collaboration, a true spirit of collaboration, rather than trying to say all capabilities will reside within, is becoming an important skill as well, to my mind.
It's interesting that you first bring up soft skills. As we're talking about AI, big data, really technical times transformation. So would you like to add on to what you see, Carol. And then I'm curious too from Jun, from the Chinese market perspective, if there's any skills that rise in sort of that importance.
像我先非常快的补充一下啊，首先我非常
Well, I would like to add something really quickly. I quite agree with Niraj. Previously, he also talked about this. In this ever-changing time, if a company's competitive advantage is actually shifted from economy of scale to now data, of course, data is very important. And another view that BCG holds, and a think tank named after our founder holds, is that speed of economic learning. It really depends on how fast you learn. Despite of the business elements, components, two colleagues here are parents as well. I have 2 children. In the future, they will go into college and going to middle school. What they learn, whether what they learn is useful or not, I have no idea. I don't know how to advise them on choosing their major. All I know is that they need to have learning ability, learning how to learn, how to accelerate their learning, and to maintain their curiosity and maintain empathy. No matter what AI can do, but there's something it definitely cannot do. It doesn't have empathy. It has no imagination. It lacks morality. So first of all, learn how to learn, how to absorb knowledge faster. Be empathetic, be moral, be curious. That's more important. Coming back to talents, we can talk about what experience and positions the talents have, but it all comes down to their leadership traits. Well, I would like to add that Chinese business view on innovation and AI, what kind of talents or talent structure they need. I would like to share with you some data, some numbers. In the last 3 to 4 decades, China as an economy, as the factory of the world, has provided many cheap labors, and labor-intensive industries was China's pillar and a great contributor to the world. But compared to the year 2000, 1 million graduates. Now to this year, we have 11.58 million graduates. So China has stepped up efforts on cultivating high-end talents. And that has changed China's talent structure, a shift from labor-intensive to innovation-intensive. This is China's comparative advantage. For R&D or comprehensive management talents, China has a great supply. And facing Chinese business, there's a great need, but also a great supply for talents, be it Chinese business or foreign business in China. They are slowly shifting from market to R&D or innovation. So in the wave of innovation, we will see bigger role Chinese business will play.
Up. If there's any questions from our audience, please just raise your hand and use a mic and say your name. Any questions? If not, I'm happy to keep asking this panel many more questions on this data. I think what's been really interesting is this data is part of a larger project. We've mentioned it's happened over the past 3 years, very interesting 3 years in terms of the shifts we've seen in the world. We're really talking about building for the future. And one of the things we're also talking about here at the meeting is the power of entrepreneurship, hand in hand with innovation. So I was hoping each of you could share your advice for entrepreneurs who are looking ahead to start this journey on the right foot, to build on the points you've made about curiosity and innovation. What should entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs do now to make their companies future ready?
June, would you like to begin?
好的，这块的话。
Well, to entrepreneurs and business owners, a basic requirement is that innovation is a prerequisite given the current trend. As you know that with more uncertainty coming from geopolitical side and economic cycles, they need to show their more responsibility, which lies in their commitment to innovation, their curiosity. I would like to give you a surprising example, a very small one. Even in a downward economic trend, no matter how you control your costs, half of entrepreneurs think that innovative technology model can be a better way of cost control. So in such a wave, you either go up or you go down. A sustainable company must possess those traits. Otherwise, they will fail.
我其实不知道现在的数。
Well, I don't know the current data. About 20 years ago, when I was in business school, I remember that was the first dot-com wave. That was the end of the 90s, dot-com bust. So at the time, only 3% entrepreneurs would make it. And in an ever more uncertain era, this number will only be smaller. So to many extent, be it business or individuals, whether you choose to start up your own business or go into other careers, the most important traits you must possess. One is related to innovation, your vitality. The other is resilience. You cannot really succeed at the first try. Very few are that lucky. Maybe it will take you 4 or 5 attempts. On a similar note, around a few years ago, together with Raj and other colleagues, we did a interpretation on Asian leadership, an analysis of successful entrepreneurs, of what traits do they possess. Of course, they share many traits with European counterparts as well. But in Asia, there's something that stands out. One is their vision for long term. One of the entrepreneurs we interviewed, he said, which was quite impressive, if we want to send mankind to Mars in 5 years, we need European scientists. But if mankind want to survive on Mars, we need more Oriental wisdom from Asia, so that mankind can survive on Mars. And we find out that in terms of ecosystem building, the external factor is a very important has a very important role in Asia. It's about increasing resilience. So my competitors in upstream and downstream can be my rival, but at the same time, my friends, my partners. So that's something we find interesting. When you compare Asian and European leaders as CEOs, so European CEOs, maybe 15% of their time are spent on visiting clients. Well, in Asia, the number is doubled. So that's something interesting.
No word is yours.
Okay, sure. All right. I'll keep it quick. You know, there's 2 pieces of advice I always give to entrepreneurs, and I think they hold here. One is, this concept of desirable, feasible, and viable. So you have to address an unmet need. So it has to be desirable by the end customer. Obviously, it has to be feasible. You can't be chasing something which is a complete moonshot. And it has to have an economic viability, right? So that's one phrasing, right? It's easier said than done. quite often at the altar of desirability, feasibility, viability, people fall flat on one of the three things, right? The other one, which I combine with that, is keep your eyes on the sky but nose on the ground. I think, so you frame big, but you execute small, if the other way to say it. So I think you sometimes lose that connect with, you frame big and you start executing big, you will surely fail, right? At the same time, if you frame small and execute small, you may not be able to scale as well. So I think those are the two things I tell them.
Thank you so much. I think we are wrapping up now. Very interesting, important panel discussion here today. I think if I could summarize it, I would say this is a journey of transformation. We are going from physical to digital, from trying out the viral new tech to ensuring sustained success and competitive advantage in the long term, from knowledge and labor to innovation and learning, and also to ensuring that it's about not just competition but collaboration and working together to build these successes. So thank you so much to my panel. Thank you to everyone who's joined us here in Tianjin and watching from home. We'll see you next time.